Have you ever had a conversation dry up? Nothing left to say. No more words. In today's video, we are diving into one of the most important skills you need when learning a language. How to ask interesting, open questions to keep a conversation going. Hi everybody, my name is Kirsty. I'm a native English speaker with almost 10 years of teaching experience. I live in the south of France where I learned to speak French, so I completely understand the learning difficulties you come across when learning your second language, which is why I have been doing my research for this video to bring you useful phrases that you can learn and bring out at just the right moment to sound amazing in English. In today's video, we are going to cover question structures to help deepen conversation in English, questions for social situations, questions for professional situations, and questions for personal conversations, including fun dinner table conversation starters if you stay to the end. Let's get started. Before we get into specific questions, it's important to know how certain question structures in English are made to keep the conversation going, while others are not. Let's break it down into some simple rules. Do questions. The structure is quite simple. It's do, does, did, plus the subject, plus the base verb. For example, do you like pizza? Or do you play the guitar? But here's the thing, we are going to keep away from questions that begin with do, does, or did. Why? Because they can be answered with a simple yes or no. People can add information, but questions that can be answered with a simple yes or no are not going to help us if we are trying to keep a conversation going. So we are going to focus on questions beginning with question words or questions. Questions in English begin with words like what, when, where, who, which, whose, why, and how. We use them to ask for information. The best thing about question words is that they form questions that cannot be answered by yes or a simple no. So they are very useful if you want to keep a conversation going. We usually form work questions with a question word, an auxiliary verb like be, do, or have, a subject, and a main verb, or with a question word, a modal verb, a subject, and a main verb. Let me give you some examples. For have, what have you done? For be, where are they staying? For do, how do they know? And with a modal verb, who can he live with? Now that you have the basics, let's talk about how to use these different question types to form interesting questions in different scenarios. Okay, so imagine you're at a party or a casual get-together. You don't want to just ask typical questions like, what do you do? Because, well, that's boring. To keep the conversation going, you need to ask open-ended, thought-provoking questions. Let's look at a few examples. We need to transform any do questions that you have been using. Instead of, do you like your job? Try, what do you enjoy most about your job? What do you enjoy most about your job? This makes the question more engaging and gives the other person a chance to open up. Instead of, do you like traveling? Ask, what's the most interesting place you've ever traveled to? Allow the person to answer. Let's imagine they say Peru. And then you can follow up with, really, why? Really, why? Another way to ask this question is, what's the most interesting place you've traveled to and why? But I like it less in one sentence because it allows for less exchange. And to me, it sounds a little bit formulaic, as in you've prepared it according to a formula and maybe even you're reading your notes. Okay, so try the first example for a little bit more of a relaxed tone. To keep light conversation flowing, ask open questions that invite the other person to talk about their current situation or day-to-day experiences. For example, how did you get started in your career? How did you get started in your career? What made you decide to live in this city? What made you decide to live in this city? What's the atmosphere like in your neighborhood? What's the atmosphere like in your neighborhood? Another good question could be, how do you balance work and personal life? How do you balance work and personal life? What's the most rewarding aspect of your job? So here you're asking what is the part of their job that brings them the most satisfaction. All of these questions encourage a person to share their personal stories or opinions. Also, all of the questions we've seen until now are not too personal, so they're perfect for small talk with a group of people that you don't know too well. For a bit more fun, hypothetical questions are great for light-hearted conversations. They help people express their creativity and their personalities. For example, if you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go? If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go? Opinion-based questions work in a similar way. How do you think technology will change in the next 10 years? These questions keep things interesting and are perfect for social gatherings. Now let's talk about asking good questions in professional situations. Whether it's during a meeting, a networking event, or a job interview, the right questions can make a big difference. Clarifying questions. Sometimes when you are in a work discussion, the conversation just dries up, and clarifying questions will help you deepen the conversation. For example, could you explain that in a little bit more detail? It will also help you if you haven't understood. How does this strategy fit into our overall goals? How does this strategy fit into our overall goals? Or what's the biggest challenge you faced with this project? What's the biggest challenge you faced with this project? These questions show that you're engaged and thinking critically. Also that you're listening and you're interested in what the person is saying. Another great way to keep a professional conversation going is to ask for advice or insight. Like this. What's the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career? What's the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career? How do you stay motivated when facing challenges? How do you stay motivated when facing challenges? Or what advice would you give to someone just starting in this industry? What advice would you give to someone just starting in this industry? These questions are fantastic for networking or when you want to learn from someone with more experience. Future-orientated questions are also perfect for professional environments. They help focus the conversation on goals and aspirations. For example, where do you see the company in 5 years? Where do you see the company in 5 years? What's your vision for this project? What's your vision for this project? Or what trends do you think will shape the future of our industry? What trends do you think will shape the future of our industry? These questions show that you are forward-thinking and interested in the bigger picture. Let's talk about personal conversations with friends and family. The next set of questions are more intimate and will help you deepen relationships. Questions for reflection. Asking someone to reflect on their experiences or feelings helps you to get to know them better. For example, what's been the highlight of your year so far? Or what's something you're really proud of? What's your biggest fear right now? These questions encourage the person to open up and share meaningful experiences. However, word of warning, they are quite deep questions, so make sure you know the person quite well. Not every personal conversation has to be serious. These light-hearted questions will keep things fun and easygoing with people that you know well. These are perfect for dinner table talk with friends and family. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be? What is the strangest food you have ever tasted? What's a talent or skill you wish you had? If you could relive any day of your life, which one would it be and why? So to sum up, remember to use open-ended questions. Avoid questions that begin with do, does, or did. Show genuine curiosity and don't be afraid to ask follow-up questions. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel. If you have found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up. It really, really helps. Don't forget to subscribe for more tips on how to improve your English. Thank you for watching today. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.